Hey folks, welcome back to Let's Play Red Dead Redemption 2 on a Mysterious JG. Sadie and Charles are both down. It's up to John, to take out Micah and avenge Arthur. Can he do it? If he can't, will he continue retrying checkpoints until he does? Let's find out together in what probably really honestly should be the last episode of Red Dead Redemption 2. Which I've been saying for this will be the third video in a row where I've said that. But this time, I think it really is the case. There is Potent Health Cure, Miracle Tonic, fully restores health, stamina, and Deadeye, fortifies slightly. Can't even see where these guys are. You're gonna have fun with my corpse? You are a weird one, friend. Well, it didn't take too long for the yellow band to disappear around my health meter. Micah shit? Every time, see, I figured I would hit the loot button to trigger enemies to attack. You don't fall off the ledge there, JG. Well, what button is the cover button? I'm pressing buttons like a madman here. I seem to have lost the cover button in all this. Oh, come on, I shot that guy right in the face. Have to aim for the hat. Back here. Music probably wasn't meant to play this long. Beautiful friend. There you go. Busy little camp you got here, Micah. Don't know why he's got all the explosives, but Ooh. Okay, so where exactly am I Oh, the entire fucking valley here, huh? Well, it's a mountaintop, but... Well, it's probably the last place I'm gonna look, and I'll feel bad if I feel like I missed exciting content. So let's search these ones that are close by that we know are not gonna be it. How many of you guys are there? Does Micah have an entire small... it's just turned into Commando. It's like Micah has his own country that is working for him. He's also got some really resilient thugs who work for him. I want to activate my is any of this stuff salvageable. Vision. Yeah, I see you there, friend. I'm just trying to do this the proper gameplay way. Ah, damn it. But it's not working. So I'm just gonna have to waste tons of Deadeye. Just popping them like candy. Gone the whole game without ever using the stuff, but now we're fighting Hammond Crews. It's time to use it all. Evil Lord Darkness Hammond Crews. We have to take him out. So we're using all the moon drops, basically. Game seems to... I don't know if the game wants us to use the volcanic pistol or if it's just these guys are equipped with it because it kills you fast and it's supposed to be a difficult mission. Hey Micah, I'm here to forgive you. I've talked about it with Abigail. She thinks I'll be a better man if I can forgive you. I also want to slide down the snow on your mountainside. Whee! Well, sure enough, it's the farthest away one that we haven't visited yet. I almost kind of went there first, but like, I was like, no. While it probably is the right one, if you go to it first, this probably you'd find him there. Because there's probably a specific set of stuff you have to interact with in order to fight him when you get there, but still it just kind of felt like cheating, and if I did have to come back, I'd have to climb uphill. And my real-life laziness is extended into video games. It's like, no, I'm not here, Black Lung, or whatever I used to call you. Black Lung Jr. Oh, it's Micah's chamber. Now, of course, there's nothing stopping 800 guys from popping out of, like, all of these little zones here. It'd be kind of cool if we shot him on the can.
Did you miss me?
Oh, Scarface. I knew he had some kind of nasty nickname.
Been a few years.
Didn't miss many of your guys either.
How's that, whore of yours?
She's good. Didn't reckon I
She's
should
great,
waste my
actually.
time killing you. But I felt different.
So it seems. Well, maybe after all this is over, I'll go pay her a call. And the boy.
Wow, Micah, I'm surprised at you. I didn't think that you would say asshole stuff at the end, but sure enough you are. I had to pause it there, folks, because I just suddenly had one of the all-time strongest JG is paranoid about whether the recording is actually going moments. But let's get back to Micah.
Whatever you say.
Okay, well, cinematic prevents us from getting any kind of sneaky kill on him. Well, that's not fair.
You should run away!
I look forward to meeting you.
Try that again, won't you?
Yeah, I think this is some kind of trick fight. I don't think we're going to be able to shoot him.
John. It's your only hope.
I'm just fine here.
I'll make you rich. Real rich. I got all the money from Blackwater.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, so anytime I press the button to get... Anytime I press a button to get out of cover, I automatically get knocked back. So I think it's a... I think it's a gimmick battle. It's like we're fighting Fortune. I'd like to get my Kodak out. Now use your red dead meter.
Hellfire. It's just like old times. Come on.
You know how I used to get murdered by you before? Bright eyes.
You got me. Just like old times. Hmm? All manner of folk paying social calls.
Why is he all... He's all cocky now?
Hello, son.
Oh, yeah, I kind of forgot about him.
It's been quite a while.
He came out of the giant outhouse.
Now, John. Now, what were you saying?
Oh, I guess now I know why he was all cocky.
What are you doing here, Dutch? Same as you, I suppose.
Dutch and I are teaming up.
What does that mean?
More. We got money,
Well, that's not why I'm here.
dreams. Join us, John. Join us.
Join us.
Let her go.
Now, I can't do that, John.
Dutch. Dutch, come on now.
Dutch, why do you keep letting me wave my gun back and forth between you guys and not taking advantage? Oh, I didn't mean to.
You started.
You started it.
Betrayed me. I could say the same as you. I was trying to do my best. You just cared for yourself.
You never supported me when I murdered that one Italian guy for no real reason.
I think differently.
Join us.
I guess I could kill him now and get a temporal paradox. Doesn't seem like there'd be a lot of trust in this.
She ain't well.
I don't want to kill you, John.
Arthur saved my life. More than one.
Press square to pay your respects to Arthur.
It's been a long time. This is a new century.
It's the mark of millennium, 2006.
Dutch.
This is ridiculous. We're in a Mexican standoff where one guy is allowed to switch his gun back and forth. The guy that both of the other two are aiming at, by the way. And neither of them ever shoot at him as he's switching his aim back and forth. It's enough to make you think Micah is sincere about wanting you to join him, but he isn't, because he's never sincere about anything.
Our best for you. Ain't our fault. Things turned out the way they did.
It was Lenny's fault.
Dutch, killing me won't solve nothing.
Put down your gun, Marston.
Say something, Dutch. Say something. I ain't got too much to say no more.
Although I will still be shooting women in the face in the next game. Well, I thought we were going to get to kill him.
You shot me. You shot me pretty
It's funny. Do a couple in the face. Don't want them all. Maybe one in the heart. But definitely had to shoot the balls a few times. It's good dying line. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.
You okay?
Fine.
You're crazy.
I hope so. Help me up.
Let's go get Charles.
Crazy for being so lonely.
Lots of money. In the cabin. Blackwater.
I'll go see.
Hurry up. I got a wedding I want to go to.
Well, we need to buy you a dress, which is probably red, so it won't look too bad when you're bleeding all inside of it. Wow, I would have thought Dutch would have taken some of that. We can't possibly take all of that. It'll be a little suspicious if we're trying to pose as people who've gone right, but I guess we could pay off the house now. Happy music! Happy music! We killed Micah. Dutch is gone. Got a little ahead of it there. Well, there you go. A happy ending. Now John Marston and his family can go off and just live a long and productive life. And Abigail leaves you again. I mean, she left you for less than this.
It's all over.
I guess you bought her a house in the meantime, so. And she comes to realize Bonnie McFarlane is not a dangerous rival compared to this woman who takes her husband out on murder missions.
I'm going to where the sun burns and the heat stays in. Come and lay by my side, right here.
Oh, there you go.
To where
I guess it just kind of wraps up with you guys all coming back together to be buddies. Well, now I don't know if I'm supposed to have looked up a bunch of stuff to do after the credits. Because I was under the impression I'd looked up where to find the old gang members and stuff. I thought that was going to be it. So maybe there'll be more, but I'm assuming Sadie said she was going to go to Mexico and Charles left. It's like somebody becomes the prime minister, somebody else marries the princess, somebody always just leaves. That's the way 100 World Story goes. I guess Dutch left. Dutch is kind of the drifter. The fourth person whose fate needs to be decided at the end of this is Dutch, and he left. Wow, even Uncle cleans up pretty good.
When I see you behind the glass, I forget that I'm in the cage. They bring me to Sunday Mass, but it never.
Hazrat Bilal, that's an interesting name. And Hugh Payne,
7 months gone and 7
brother of
years
Max.
to go
Huge
away.
pain.
I can't stay no more. Come and lay by my side.
Oh yeah, it's like the fact that there's actual singing going on rather than just instrumental is making me not want to go into long, boring speeches about my impressions of the game, but I should have time to do that later. We can just comment on what we're seeing. So they had the marriage, or the wedding, I should say, and it looks like I'm drawing a blank. I was going to make some hilarious reference to Game of Thrones, and I can't remember the name of the jerk who's played by Filch from the Harry Potter movies to make my Red Wedding reference. I suppose I should be talking to avoid copyright strike, but whatever at this point. The copyright strikes I'm getting generally mean people are allowed to put commercials on my videos, which I don't care about. I'm not monetizing them myself, so what the fuck do I care? And once in a blue moon, it hasn't happened recently, I'll get a copyright strike where my video cannot be shown in Germany. So there's the preacher and Uncle and Charles and Abigail, and Sadie apparently is healthy enough that she's able to clap. She's not dancing. She's not wounded poorly that she can't even clap. There must have been some specific game series where that was happening with the Germany thing. I got some fans in Germany, I think. Yeah, you have to go on, I'm afraid. You gotta go on through the end of Red Dead Redemption 1 or we'll have a temporal paradox. And, spoiler alert, but thanks to the nature of Undead Nightmare, you may have to go on after that. As a zombie. And they come back to pay their respects to Micah. Nope, that's not them. That would be, well, I think we know who that is. I'm blanking on the character's name, but we had the FIB agents in Red Dead Redemption 1. We saw the senior of those two agents was the junior agent in this game, but then the senior-most agent was, as it turns out, was crooked, and he got killed. And now Edgar Ross. Edgar Ross was the junior agent of those two. And I think that's Edgar Ross, with his friend from the original Red Dead Redemption. That looked to me like it's them investigating Micah's little hideout there, where he and Dutch were chillaxing. Julian Orme, the lead vehicle artist. Oin Kalan. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing that right. And I should know how to pronounce that. I think that's in Gaelic. So I guess Charles is making his goodbyes. He's going to go to Canada. She's going to go to Mexico. They teased them getting killed, but it didn't actually happen. So if it's really... Actually, the strangest part of Red Dead Redemption, now that I think about it, is that the FIB, like, why did they really... It seems weird, I guess, in a way that they cared so much about... it's Javier, I guess, is the one. Because Bill Williamson is running a gang of, like, dangerous guys who've seized an old army fort in Red Dead Redemption. So it makes sense that the law enforcement wants him killed. But if their main thing is just going after Dutch and the other members of the gang are of lesser importance, because they're obviously not chasing Charles up to Canada, unless that becomes the subject of Red Dead Redemption 3, I suppose. Maybe Red Dead Redemption 3 will be about the FIB chasing Sadie around Mexico. But yeah, it does look like those two characters are going to escape. Various members of the gang, the less violent and dangerous ones, you know, your supporting characters. The cook, the women who hung around the camp and we never really knew what they were doing, like Tilly, and the only woman in the entire camp whose purpose I understood was I can't remember her name now. It's Karen or Susan, but the blonde one who actually went and like distracted guys and was part of the big bank robbery mission. Is that Miss Grimshaw? I thought she died. Oh, that's the young lady who became a writer, now wearing her hair in the Grimshaw fashion. But yeah, the one who drank herself to death, we heard, she was the only one who I actually understood what her function was in the gang. And Grimshaw was kind of in charge of the women in the gang. Were they like dancing around with the fact that they were like whoring or something? Because they never really said that. Or they would go into bars and get leads on stuff. I mean, they kind of hinted at that a bit. But you would think... I don't know. It seems like they kind of just wanted to hammer in some female characters and didn't really have a sensible reason for them to be there. Alright, son, here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to go off and get yourself in trouble with a bear. Because that'll be a pain in the butt mission in the next game. Johnny Hind, the helicopter magnate, is also lead network sessions programmer, who never gave me permission to call him Johnny. Johnny Guitar, action adventure punk. And Eugene Foss is down there with the thick eyebrows, common to all Eugenes. Well, Eugene Lovely anyway. Alright, well, these credits are going to suddenly switch over to a plot resolution of some kind, but and I don't know that there's any one major thing I need to do in post game, because I thought I'd done all the post game stuff I could do, but that was important. But yeah, this is definitely Edgar Ross and the guy from Red Dead Redemption 1, who's kind of like, he kind of seems like legitimately he's going to be nice to you if you do your missions and stuff. Like, they did a good cop, bad cop routine. But yeah, they're investigating. And we know that they find the Marston family, so it's kind of not a particularly happy credit sequence now that I'm thinking it through. They're basically saying, hey, here's the wedding, isn't it nice? And now Charles and Sadie have left. And here are the guys that well, it's certainly taking us right up to the end of Red Dead Redemption, right up to the start of Red Dead Redemption, it looks like. They're not really going to be able to insert a game between these now if this one ends with the FIB finding out where John Marston is, and the next game is the FIB has forced John Marston to work for them as their catspaw. Bridge like that is waiting to get blown up in this game. Come on, guys. Anyway, I was about to switch over to summarizing my thoughts on the game. Oh, sorry. Ambient world animation. Saint Denis, which is beyond the world that is accessible in Red Dead Redemption. Oh, there's Tilly. Yeah, presumably that's her husband. I did remember wondering if she had married some prominent lawyer, and I was trying to decide what would be more of a 21st century kind of social justice. I'm not trying to say this to be condescending, but it is what it is. If you're like a 21st century social justice oriented writer, which is the greater anachronism? An interracial marriage in the Western America at this time, or that there's a prominent black lawyer? Probably the prominent black lawyer is easier to swallow than the interracial marriage, because either way, it's just like, it's nice, but it's a much more unusual thing then than it is now. They've always had to be careful with writing these games. Probably got Native Americans better than they have in this game than they did in the previous game. There's a couple of really ham-handed speeches about how white people were screwing up the country, and then the character who delivered those speeches gets killed, and all other Native American characters in the game are generic thugs working for Dutch. So they did a little better with that, just by having Charles be a broadly sympathetic mixed-race character who is partially Native American. And the whole thing with the missions you're doing, the whole thing with Dutch, like, playing Pied Piper and leading Native Americans to their doom for reasons that were a little bit confused. That was kind of rough. Anyway, here's maybe I should have more unique dialogue the next time John Marston comes in. I felt like I defaulted to the standard storekeep talk very quickly. These are the people responsible for giving you a new continuation point every 0.3 seconds during a storyline mission. And yet I still find moments where I complained that it's taking too many bullets to kill these guys. I don't know if Lethal ever finished this game. I know he started playing it. Lethal has a tendency to play games, set them on highest possible difficulty setting, generally beat them handily anyway because he's good at action video games. But despite setting them on the highest possible difficulty setting, complaining about broken game mechanics or cheating if he ever does fail. So with this game, I could see Lethal getting frustrated by the fact that it doesn't have any inherent difficulty, but since I was in the middle of playing the game for myself, I never went back and watched his videos. I think the fact that the game is just freaking endless, if you're not into the story, might have been enough. Horse systems design. There are definitely some control issues with this game. There's definitely moments where, like, you are doing what you think is the right control input to do what you want to do, and your character's doing everything but. It's not the most intuitive controls ever. But again, it's one of these games where I'm only complaining about it because it's doing so many other things really well. It's like railing against the horrible subplot where you go to fake Cuba. It's so lame, but I mean the laziness of how they just cram it in really bothered me because they're doing so many other things so right. In some ways, this is like the ultimate AAA title. Like, look at how many people were involved with making this thing. And there's really, like, broadly two types of video games, like, extreme opposite sides of the spectrum that interest people now, which is the little indie game things that people, like, sell for $1 on Steam, and something like this. I don't know what AAA game budgets are like nowadays, but this game must have cost as much as a feature film to make. And in the end, I got more enjoyment out of this than I got out of a typical feature film. Like, I enjoyed seeing Iron Man 3 at the movie theater, but didn't really give me as much entertainment over time as this did. I don't know why I went to Iron Man 3. I guess just because it was a sequel. And Iron Man 2 notably sucked. Iron Man 3 had the Mandarin. Audio direction by Laszlo. Did you actually do anything, Laszlo, or are you just contractually obligated that they're going to put your name in there? Oh, whatever. My hated rivalry with my intense rivalry and deep-seated hatred with Laszlo. I am Ivan Pavlovich. I am the greatest musical director ever for Western films. Tоварищ Commander. Yep. Background stuff. Hey, it's Rod Edge. He worked on performance capture with the help of his brother, Rod Christian. So what else? I'd been meaning to talk about, and I guess I just don't know when the game is going to cut me off and take us back to some actual like, will we get a final scene with Arthur and Abigail? Or, well, hopefully not. The ghost of Arthur comes to speak. John and Abigail. Like, I don't know if we will. I think they unlocked family meals. Maybe we'll do one of those before we call it a video and an LP, but research. These are the people who watched a couple of old Western movies. Something for righteousness. Let those who... Abigail goes to visit his grave. And you can find this in the game somewhere. I didn't know that they were going to show it, but I didn't really decide that I wanted to go figure out where it is exactly. But yeah, it would really be kind of pointless to go find it now. We'll keep you in black on her behalf. Wait, that's not right. Keep her in black on your behalf. That's, every time a musical theme wraps up, I'm thinking we're going to go back into gameplay of some kind, or just an actual scene with dialogue between characters. Because, so what I wanted to say about this game for me, which became very, hard to describe exactly, but the unusual personal connection. There are now games that, thanks to LPing them, I have like a personal feelings towards. Like Tecmo Secret of the Stars is now a big nostalgic favorite for me because it's the first game I ever did a Let's Play of. So I have feelings about that game which are not earned in any way by the game itself. Lennis 2 is the game I associate most with having been in Afghanistan, even though I did other series over there, including Castlevania, which was done entirely in one day while I was over in Afghanistan. There were several games that I was in the middle of Let's Playing when the news hit, but this, to me, is the game I associate with having been diagnosed with cancer. Because, let's face it, the protagonist of the story, and hold on. This is what I was waiting for to happen before starting down a serious discussion is what triggered it. Ross and the other guy's name I don't remember have tracked Marston to his farm. They've basically confirmed that they've spotted him, and that Marston's fate is essentially sealed in that moment. Well, Marston's fate was arguably sealed a lot earlier than that. But that's it. That's like the ultimate, what a drag moment of this ending credits is. Yeah, they don't really have this future that they thought they had. In case you didn't get that, modernization is terrible, and the world was better before. At least it is when you insert all these weird social justice things. There's just a bunch of smokestacks to remind you that this world no longer exists. Well, that doesn't make sense. This world no longer exists, but here's smokestacks which are part of that world. Huh? Yeah, there's no Western worth its salt, which doesn't have some underlying theme about how civilization and modernization are bad. It's just kind of part of what makes Westerns Westerns, so they do have to put that in there. After all, they had researchers. You saw them right under the dialogue writers. They had researchers who had to watch Westerns to confirm, it's modernization and stuff is bad. Although, there's still states where there's lots of wide open space, and thanks to the way our Senate works and the Electoral College, those places where there's more possums than people have an undue control over our government. So that's a cheerful thought. If you're worried that there's not enough Western frontier left, just remember that those are the states that are ultimately controlling things like presidential elections. Oh, JG. Why would you wait this long and then suddenly get controversial? The controversial idea that the Electoral College is a bad idea. Alejandro Bena, and then I didn't get the country. Wow, that looks like it would make a great t-shirt. So I started talking about it, and then I got sidetracked. I guess I could go back to it. Yeah, but I was playing several games when I found out that I have cancer, but this is the one that was about a guy who had a terminal disease and was trying to figure out what to do with the time they had left and how to be a good person. So you can imagine, more so than, say, Final Fantasy 13-2, which is about, like, a little pink-haired girl hopping around, going through time tunnels trying to rescue her sister, who has become some kind of, like, battle goddess. This game was easier to connect to on a personal level with that theme once I found that out. And, of course, that's great. I start talking about that, and we cut to a scene of vultures flying away from a corpse. Speaking of vultures, though... No, I mean, so it was a strange thing while doing Let's Play as a hobby, just for fun, to be, because at that time, Bobo's doing good now, guys, but there was a stretch where people who were following his streaming career knows he had a little stretch where things weren't going great. He wasn't enjoying his job. Eventually, he left his job. He was not able to immediately get a new job. He's in a better place now than he was, but at the time I was recording this, kind of the end of the main story before we got into the epilogue sections, that was what was going on. I just found out that I had cancer, and my brother was having, like, issues, and I suddenly played this emotional scene. Oh, I thought that was going to be like the Ghost of Arthur or something. And suddenly I'm playing through the ending of the story where the guy who's dying of a terminal disease is trying to figure out how he can do something to help his brother. And it was like, wow, it was a pretty, it was a fairly well-written, emotionally impactful story, if all that stuff wasn't going on. And suddenly it was like, wow, shit, this game knew exactly what buttons to press for me. But there you have it. So, like, for me, but the other thing, strangely though, an outlaw, his most trusted senior gun, a somewhat wayward protege. Oh, okay, so we've got an exiled Mexican, a panderer and degenerate. I suppose we could go back and slowly read through these descriptions. Son of Catherine Braithwaite. A sun worshipper. Yeah, again, and like the Grand Theft Auto games, these games throw in these stranger missions and side quests, which just kind of trail off without getting any kind of really, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't always feel like you had a satisfying finish. But that main story, though, like I was saying, it really Ken Jennings from Jeopardy? A small but very angry man, Ken Jennings. No, but yeah, this game is like, wow, like how the hell did this come to pass? It was just weird. Like, probably the main, it was the LP the fewest people were watching because it had been going on for so long. I'd lost viewers over the course of a 200-something video series. That happens. I'm fine with it. I do this as a hobby. But yeah, it was like by the end, I was like, well, shit. Like, as I'm finding out that I've got cancer. And things are going good, by the way, guys. It appears to be in remission. They don't really say that it's in remission until you've been 5 years without it flaring back up. And I've got a long ways to go, but everything's going fine with chemo and everything. But there was definitely a point, free surgery. Like, now that I'm in chemo, it's like it's routine. It's okay. I have a routine that I have to go through, and it's not always fun, but it's a routine. It's part of life. But before the surgery was successful, I had a lot of thoughts about whether everything was going to go well. And this was the game I was playing, and it was about a guy who had basically a death sentence. And it was kind of crazy. But the other reason it's weird, once I was taking like sick leave from work, I wasn't working. I had a long stretch where I was away from work. And I kind of let my boss know that I wouldn't be working for a while. And I was like, take the time that you need. Great thing about having a government job. And I had days of doing nothing but every day there was something to do with, like, you got to go here to get a blood test. Now you're going to go here, and you got to you're picking up the radioactives that you're going to drink 6 hours before you have this particular full body scan, and then the next day after that, I was going someplace to get something else. Like, there's always a medical thing, like every day. And my parents actually came up and stayed in town to help me get through some of this stuff, like the actual procedure. Well, I won't go into all the details of it because it's the one where they put a camera up your butt. Yeah, that one. So all this stuff is going on, and I just remember it had been like a week of having something to do every day, and then things had slowed down. And my parents left town. They went back to where they are, spending their retirement years looking after grandkids and stuff. And it was like the first day I was by myself. I wasn't working. I had no medical shit to do. And I just played like probably 5 or 6 hours of Red Dead Redemption 2 and recorded it. All of the John Marston stuff. And I just remember thinking, at that point, I had not actually put out a video on my channel to talk about the fact that I had cancer. So I wasn't talking about it while I was recording. But it was like the first time I just got to sit down and fucking veg out with a video game. And like I said, 5 hours, it probably wasn't 6 hours, I doubt that, but like 4 or 5 hours of just sitting around in the afternoon just playing Red Dead Redemption 2 and recording it. Making the same kind of dumb jokes and comments. And not thinking about any of that stuff because we'd moved past the part of the story. It wouldn't have worked. Like, I'd recorded like before my I think technically I kind of recorded the end of the Arthur story before I'd had the actual procedure where the cancer was diagnosed, but I knew something was wrong. I definitely knew something was wrong. And the first time I sat down and recorded this game just by chance was the first videos I recorded where you weren't playing as Arthur anymore, and you were playing as John Marston. It was all about starting things and building something new and good. And it was just, I just remember that day sitting around in my apartment by myself. I think I went out for a walk to get some fresh air at one point. I think I had like delivery food or something. I just remember a whole day of just not even worrying about any of the things that were going on and just living. This music is really making this sound very uplifting, isn't it? I just spent a day living in the Old West, and building up a farm and not having real world problems. And it was really nice. So as it happens, this is like if you're going to get cancer, well, if everyone ever asks you, hey, would you like to try cancer? It's this thing. I would politely decline if I were you. But if you're going to get it anyway, you might as well be in the middle of playing Red Dead Redemption 2 when it happens, because it is a game which in a weird way will focus your thoughts. Oh, Willie Nelson! I didn't know that they used him in this. I did not remember hearing Willie Nelson singing in this thing. Now watch, somebody can go back and find the video and timestamp where I was like, hey, Willie Nelson, that's great he's in this game, but I don't remember that. It is, now that I think about it, there's no reason they wouldn't have lots of like celebrity cameos in this game, having like country western stars and stuff voicing parts, but it's not as big on like having known people just show up and do parts as Grand Theft Auto was. Although if by having known people show up to do parts means like, you know, David Cross is the guy who makes you fly toy airplanes around in a game, maybe it's really not that big about having big stars. Love you, David Cross. Not trying to insult you, but it's not like fucking Tom Cruise came in and did a part. Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime gal. Something, something, something. Blah, 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 blah. If you refuse me, honey, you lose me. Something, 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 baby. Telephone. And I don't know the words. Bye, Jesse. Poor lonesome cowboy. Proctology Wrinkly dinkly dee-loo. Well, proctology is a theme for me with this game, but for most people I wouldn't think it was. Boy, these credits, they're still going. I was thinking I wouldn't have time to just wax nostalgic about all the just kind of strange place this game now has in my heart. And the weird thing is, I still don't think I have quite the nostalgia for it that I have for Red Dead Redemption. I think Red Dead Redemption was so different from anything else I'd played when I played it. Which is ironic, because it's the Grand Theft Auto game engine set in the Old West. But it's just the themes. I don't remember ever playing a game where it made that much sense that the hero dies at the end, and yet I still didn't see it coming. And this one, there was like, I don't know how they're going to do it, but there's no fucking way Arthur Morgan is alive at the end of Red Dead Redemption 2. That was never a question in my mind. And they did a lot of things in this game that I complained about, like, you know, the Cuba side quests and all that stuff. I was complaining about it so loud because what they did right, they did so right. And the smartest thing they did, and they probably had to figure this out early in the like creative development process. How is the character actually going to end up? Because we can't surprise kill them at the end. It's the sequel to a game where we did that. Everyone will see that coming a million miles away. And having him live at the end will probably just feel like kind of an anticlimax compared to the big climax of Red Dead Redemption. A game which was probably never really meant to have a sequel when you think about it. Terrell doesn't. Really, it has a prequel. But like their approach, which is like, okay, let's give you plenty of time with Arthur before we announce well in advance of the end of his story that he's got a fatal condition. That's like, okay, that was pretty clever. Because he could have somehow gotten out of the Vanderlyn gang collapse, and it wouldn't have felt like a cheesy, too happy, too sunshiny, too bright ending for Red Dead Redemption. What are we even looking at now? I mean, the text is so crammed together and tight. Oh, it's software stuff. Oh, jeez. I'm still glad I know what JPEG engine they used at some point in this thing. And now for part 2 of the credits.
All right, John Marston.
Oh, I remember that from the mission where we fought a bunch of crows.
I paid our debts with that money.
I don't.
See how we did. We only got a bronze star in this. Headshot the sniper who shoots Charles. I did! Oh, I didn't headshot him. Ah, fuck. I killed him with a sniper rifle. It wasn't a headshot. Help Sadie catch Cleet within 35 seconds. Well, if you let me have my fucking horse, I might have done that. Whatever. Was never going to do this. Complete the mission without taking any health items. I had John Marston pulling out his cell phone because he has one of those and dialing up Ray Chesney, the Avatar, and being like, hey man, you got any moon drops left over from after you defeated Almond Cruz? Because I need them. I definitely did not do any of these things.
I'm sure.
Credits, they're over.
Then get to work on this ranch you own, and raising your boy.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you being sarcastic,
Yes.
John Marston?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Never.
Good.
I wouldn't dare.
Anyway, I thought you liked this place.
No, John, I don't like it.
Nah, some bullshit.
I love it. It's home.
Oh.
Hello, Mrs. Marston.
It ain't my handsome.
I just got done talking to you. All right, let's go see if we can have a family meal. Because that's a thing they introduced right at the last minute.
Thanks, John.
I'm going to try not to get spotted by any FIB agents. That shit may have passed, of course. Well, you take the long route. I'm going to come down here and slide and look like an idiot. Oh, actually, so far not sliding. Yeah, see how... Well, I made it knock down a bunch of rocks, but... Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do at the farm. None of it seems to serve any purpose. Cleaning stalls, horse stallion, what? Station. And Beecher's Hope. So the family meals seem to have made my voice break. No, the family meals seems to have just been the game's way of taunting me at the last minute. And, you know, I can't come back. I did this whole thing in the credits talking about, like, this personal connection I have with this game and using it as an escape during a really tough time. And,
What do you mean?
whatever.
Other accents just gets on a fella's nerves, you know. I'll tell you something strange that isn't in that book of yours. You know,
It's about lady parts.
have talking horses.
You're kidding me.
I never lie, Jackie boy. I met them.
I do want to get some
talking
food.
Horses in Canada. Brian was his name. There's just one problem, though.
What?
Horses is boring as hell. Worse than Englishmen. It's true.
Shut up.
Sorry, I was not expecting that. I was getting ready to pause. I was gonna go on to this aside about how Uncle's name is actually pretty clever because it's just this kind of old coot who tells silly tall tales. You can imagine someone like Uncle being really endearing to their nephew, right? Because, you know, they are not really thinking about adults in terms of whether they're contributing anything useful to the household. But the guy who tells them tall tales and silly stuff, like, you could see Uncle being a pretty endearing uncle. And I was thinking a little bit about, like, hey, yeah, when little Bronco... I already got a niece that I tell silly stories to. Like, when Bronco is a little older, I could be the one who could be a little less responsible about filling his head, you know... But yeah, the stuff his mama might, like, you know, not want me telling him a bunch of silly stories that are going to fill his head with silly notions that I might have fun with because I'm his uncle. You get to tell them. I could tell my little nephew Bronco about the time I met a talking horse, and maybe his parents would be like, "Hey, knock that shit off." But you know, but I just like the fact that Marson just goes, "Shut up." Anyway, we now have to finish this out and go do a family meal, and then I guess we can call it an LP. What the hell? I didn't even have the option of being nice about it. It was just like, shut up. And now I can't even talk to him. I guess I told him to shut up.
You're confusing the boy.
Oh, he's fine. Confused already with you for a parent.
Between you and me and everything else, there's no damn hope for him.
Oh, I don't know. He seemed pretty incompetent. Yeah, he did seem pretty incompetent during that last video of Let's Play Red Dead Redemption.
Leave you to it, then.
Well, we burned the breeze long enough, I reckon.
Yeah, the kid's just like listening to him tell. Like, Jack knows it's not true. He was laughing. And then John Marston comes in and is like, shut up. How dare you disparage the intelligence of talking horses?
Finally made this family honest, son.
That's, great.
Shut up.
Really. I was glad you were there for it. We're a family. That's how it should be.
Sure,
I'll see
you're
you
not
around.
weirding me out at all, Pa.
Okay, then.
I'm just reading a story. Would you mind coming over here and yelling shut up in an unnecessarily hostile way? Thanks. Alright, well, let's go enjoy a family meal. Let's see if this 1 hour alarm is about to go. I think it actually does make sense at an hour mark, so I'm going to shut it off.
Chow time, folks. And
Yeah,
go.
sit down at dinner.
I eat too much
Really,
of this,
and
I'm
go.
Getting on all right?
How
Yeah.
do?
What the? I was trying to let them talk and then just change the camera view. Seems to have created issues. Wow, I'm sure glad we discovered this mode before it was all over.
How are you, Mrs. Marston?
I got a useless husband and an angry son. And I'm the happiest woman that ever was.
Be careful, you.
Because I've poisoned you both today. Can't greet Jack.
Everyone seems to
Greet
believe
Uncle.
us. Charles? Sadie? Oh, don't you
Come
worry,
on, John.
I ain't going anywhere. You bury me here. If you got
Well,
any
someone
idea
will.
when that'll be, let me know. Please.
Well, I got this lumbago. Jack is refusing to talk.
This food is good, and I won't hear otherwise.
Because it's deafened me. This food has affected my hearing.
Hello.
How you like it? That's good.
He's got
We'll
nothing
be
to say.
happy here.
If you don't mind, sir.
I think the food is supposed to be terrible. I think that's like a running gag. Yeah, this whole, I thought there would be like a really fun mechanic with lots of dialogue and talking. It doesn't really.
This grow's pretty good.
He says as he flings something on the floor.
Okay, Mrs. Marston?
Sure, but Jack, I worry for him so.
I know.
The
He'll
way
get
he's
there.
belching over there.
I'm sure he will.
You're talking about me like I'm not
All
here.
right.
I'm just staring at you as you try to eat.
How's your back? Giving me terrible pain. I'm lucky I wasn't smoked through. Yeah, you'll recover. And real quick, I bet. Good. Well, you take care now. I'll let you get on with it, John.
Well, I'm going to get up and leave the table without saying a word. Because if I was to say something, it would most likely be an unnecessarily hostile, shut up! Alright, well, I don't even know why I'm bothering to save. But, I'm going to save the game. And, this is like the save spot for when you first begin. If I ever have some need to come back and redo just the epilogue chapters. Although, actually, I think the game is set up in a way that you can do that without needing to set up your saves for it. But yeah, that's it. I don't really know of anything else we need to do, so call it a series. Come back the next time one of these videos would have been going public for... well, I guess I shouldn't say anything in case the plans change, but the plan is for... it's sort of the return of something that you've seen before. Something I've been waiting to finish for a long time. And you should be seeing it pretty soon. Mysterious JG, thank you guys for watching. Big, long-ass Red Dead Redemption 2 series. Plan is to get down to doing Undead Nightmare one of these days. Maybe for a Halloween. It's an awfully long game for a Halloween special. Maybe I'll start it as a Halloween special and just let it play through. And maybe I won't because, I don't know. You could never know in this crazy, crazy world. But we got to kill Micah. Or rather, we did. We killed him. Dutch shot him. And then we got to shoot him a bunch. And I think we're the ones who officially killed him. And then Dutch wandered off. And I didn't even spend a lot of time talking about how weird that was. And Dutch just kind of shows up to join Micah again. And then just kind of betrays Micah because, like, you show up and, like, up until that point, he hadn't even remembered that Micah was evil. I don't know. I probably should have talked about this during the 30-minute ending credits. But I didn't, and it's too late now. You'll never know my thoughts on this, folks. They're guarded